Now, this lady managed to break the internet. She wasn't very famous a couple of months ago, but now she is. Because everyone that tweets about her manages to get reactions within the tens of thousands to a million. And when you look at her, she hasn't done anything wrong. Like, she's not an agitator. She wasn't trying to be a cheeky little shit, and yet she's got so much attention that now she's in the papers. And the question is why? Why is this a thing? And the answer is because of her PhD, right? So, like, she basically said that she finally graduated, and now she has a PhD in olfactory ethics, the politics of smell in modern and contemporary prose. So it's a woke PhD. But I had to ask, like, why her, though? Because, like, there have been other people that had woke PhDs before. Like, I remember a lady which had a PhD in True Blood, the TV show. Another lady that had a PhD in Tolkien, and it was like a woke interpretation of Tolkien. So, like, what exactly makes this lady special? And the answer is nothing. Nothing makes her special, because the story isn't about her. The story is that the culture is finally shifting, and people are sick and tired of the academia. Because the academia is now becoming useless. It's unfit for purpose. It's corrupt beyond belief. And it's just a money-making machine. It's a fucking grift. I can prove to you that it's a grift. So, there is this propagated myth in society, which university professors themselves and other students also encourage, that people who go to the academia are educated. Like, you will see polls, you will see statistics, and it's like, educated people, what do they think? And education means, like, going to a university. If you get a PhD, you're even more educated. So the idea that if you're a farmer, if you're a plumber, if you're a construction worker, that you're uneducated, you're dumb. But if you go to the academia, you're enlightened. You're a visionary. And so, it's interesting that if you were to put 10 working class people on an island, on a show like Survivor, I guarantee to you, chances are they're going to make it. They're going to complain about it, sure. They're going to have a hard time, but chances are they're going to make it. If you take 10 people that have PhDs written in woke smell-o-vision, chances are not many are going to make it. So why does society put so much prestige on this? And the answer is like a modern day religious relic, the PhD I mean. Back in the day, the church said that they discovered the holy prepuce. When Jesus Christ was born, he was circumcised. So the foreskin was called the holy prepuce. Like, look it up on Wikipedia. There were churches that claimed they found it, and people treated with reverence, and they were touching the box in which was in, you know, hoping that they get some divine luck for seeing and doing the pilgrimage to the holy prepuce. And this is what modern academia is. This is what the PhD paper is. And I can prove to you, beyond the shadow of a doubt, that it's meaningless. That it's a sham. That it's a grift. So what is the assumption here? The assumption is that she wrote something that very few people can, right? Like, what she wrote there are words of high wisdom that benefit humanity, and those words show that she is more intelligent than the average people. Like this is what the PhD is, right? Now, I have a question to you. Let's say I managed to steal her PhD. Like, I literally just steal it. And then I have a time machine, and I go back 5 years in the past before she wrote it. And it's literally the exact same thing, right? Like, it's word for word. There's no difference, but only that I go back in time 5 years, and I claim that I am the author. I claim that I have discovered this. I have this knowledge that no one else on earth has. How would people treat that? Would people give a fuck? And the answer is absolutely not. No one would. Even if I was to go to her university, if I walk in person to her university and I talk with the professors that are in the field and they're interested in this, and I'm like, I wrote this, do you want to read it? No one wants to read it. It's useless. Now, if I actually enroll to the university, if I actually go through the process and I spend the money, I pay the cash, I go to the courses, I talk to the professors, I go through all the hassle, and then I write it word for word, and they can't find out that I cheated, they'll be like, oh my goodness, yes, congratulations. And they get you in front of an audience and they give you a diploma and they shake your hand and everyone is excited at the fake ceremony with the fake smiles. It's like the professor's like, oh, here we go again, another year, another graduation. And we gotta pretend that we're happy because it's a fucking sham. It's a grift. Now, if you are to find, let's say, the cure for cancer, and you write it in a PhD, that has value, right? If you go 5 years in the past and you show it, people will want to see it. People will want to buy it. They would be interested. You found the cure for cancer. Holy shit. And the reality is, like, someone that finds the cure for cancer and he writes a PhD is on the same level as someone that writes a PhD in smell-o-vision. Because society doesn't discriminate. You're all university graduates. You're all PhD owners. So, the people that are upset about this, first of all, is the public. The public is upset because they're called uneducated if they don't have a university. The other people that are upset are also people that did get a university, but they actually did study. They actually did something difficult. Like someone that goes into nuclear physics and writes a treaty is someone that had to spend a lot more time and was going through a process that was a lot more demanding from them than someone that just writes about smell-o-vision. And the reality is, if I, in my free time, write a paper on nuclear physics and it's actually good, it has value. If I write this in my free time and I write like the smell-o-vision of woke politics, no one gives a fuck. And it's the sham. It's the corruption of the university. It's like a parasitic entity that has latched onto something that used to have meaning and transformed it into something useless that's just a money grift. And it's also damaging to society. And I'm saying this because I'm looking at history and I noticed that when my mom got a job, for her position, which she performed quite well, a university degree wasn't required. Now, she had one, but it didn't matter. Like, a lot of her colleagues got it. They didn't have university degrees. But over time, they actually did have a requirement. No, you need to have a university degree in order to do this. Any degree. It doesn't matter. It just needs to be one. And the question is why? And the answer is because of the mindset. Right? Like, they want educated people. They can't just get anyone. And what does this do? It forces people to go into debt, to save money and spend tens of thousands of dollars to get this cardboard at the expense of their lives. You know, the communists came up with the idea that everyone deserves an education, that education is a human right. Initially, it was everyone needs to know how to read and write, which is good, by the way, right? You need to go to school. Everyone should learn the ABCs and the LGBTs. They're very important. But then they expanded the concept of education to include universities. So now they expect people by the age of 25 to be separated from the workforce, to not even be able to get a job at a McDonald's, to learn how it is to work in a society, how it is to work in a team, how it is to earn your first paycheck. Like, they don't want that. And the worst thing is, like, they're pushing away the concept of family. Like, you should get a family when you're 30. This increases the risk of autism and other genetic disorders. Yeah, see, when you get a PhD at a university that actually teaches you something like medicine, you may actually learn that the more you wait to have kids, the more risky it is. So back in the day when everyone had kids at the age of 18, you were the man of the house and the autism rates was pretty low. But now, as people are expected to marry by the age of 30, 35, and they have kids at 39, yeah, the autism rate is very high. And the universities are partially to blame for it because people are expected to get a university degree. And you kind of have to, right? Like, you kind of have to because it's just the way the job market works. Everyone has it, so now it's a self-filling feedback loop. And I think people actually noticed the problem. I think people, when they're looking at this lady with her degree in spell-o-vision, a lot of the mysticism behind the academia was demolished. And people are starting to realize that isn't this like just like a modern religion now that is corrupt? Because like people understand, okay, well, politicians can be corrupt, right? Like no one denies that. Police officers can be corrupt. But when you suggest that the academia can be corrupt, like for some reason people don't want to accept that because they have like some religious level of reverence towards the academia. They believe it's like, no, it can't be. Like, then everything we know about mankind comes from the academia. The reality is that no, it can definitely be corrupt. And images like this highlight that the academia is starting to grift now. Is starting to become into a savvy business model rather than an institution that has a mission to teach and to learn. Let me know what you guys think, though, and as usual, I will see you in the comment section. Take care.